Let's go coast to coast, starting with Cade Cunningham. Here he is after dropping 38 in a win against the Hawks.
What I said earlier, don't touch me, I'm sizzling.
He's sizzling.
The Pistons are sizzling, Malika.
Sizzling. I mean, Cunningham started the game on fire, dropping 29 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds in the first half alone. So to what degree of sizzling has Cade been this season, Wendy?
How about all-NBA level sizzling, which would be Supermax stuff, wouldn't it be, Shams? Also, I would like to point out that they have won 6 games in a row, and they're now 4 games in the loss column clear to have the 6th seed to be in the play-in ahead of Orlando. How about the Pistons? 14 wins last year and straight in the playoffs.
This is what Mark Jones would say, hotter than fish grease. All right, next up, let's go to Toronto. That's where Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, they combined for 76 points in a loss to the Raptors, who outscored the Suns 22-6 in the last 5 minutes of the game. Legs, was this Suns team only ever good on paper?
Apparently so, Malika, and it's obviously not trending in the right direction now either. They've lost 9 out of 12. They gave up 20 made threes to a Toronto team with 18 wins and got manhandled on the glass.
Next up, the Grizzlies and the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers defeated Memphis to win their 7th straight. They're now 42-0 when leading entering the 4th quarter. Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley scored or assisted on 85 points in the game. Windy, should we be giving their duo, Mitchell-Mobley, a little more credit?
They were so good in this game, and also the big men, 20 more rebounds than the Grizzlies. Mobley, 25 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. Awesome performance.
Finally, we finish with an Eastern Conference clash between the Knicks and the Celtics here in this one. Jason Tatum uses the screen to drill the 3. The Celtics lead 64-43 going into halftime. So to the 3rd now. Knicks trail by 22. Josh Hart finds Karl Anthony Towns, nails the deep 3. So now the Knicks down by 19. About 25 seconds remaining. Knicks down 10. Brunson works the screen, drills the 3. Brunson had 22 points. 4 of 9 from 3 in this game. The Knicks cut the lead down to 7. And here comes Kristaps Porzingis, Wendy.
Back door there. You got to keep an eye on Porzingis always.
And then the very next play here, Towns attacks the paint, misses the dunk. He seems to hurt maybe his knee on the landing. He would, though, return later in the 4th quarter. It was, though, just a little bit too late. The Celtics up 14. Tatum kicks it to Brown, nails the 3. Brown had 24 points, 8 rebounds. Tatum 25, 10, and 9 in this one. The Celtics get the win 118-105. So Boston, they've now won each of their first 3 games against the Knicks this season by an average of 21 points a game. That does not bode well for New York long term. These teams have a 49% chance of meeting in the Eastern Conference semis. That's according to ESPN analytics. Legs, I think that the gap, it seems wide between the Celtics and the New York Knicks here. At the beginning of the season, maybe that wasn't the expectation. How big do you see it?
Huge gap. I mean, you're talking about the difference between the Knicks and these 3 teams that they're getting smoked by. You know, they're able to compete with these teams offensively. The problem is all of those teams are elite defensively. The Knicks are not an elite defensive team. And some of it is personnel. Some of it maybe can be scheme at times and things that you can do. But a lot of it is just flat-out effort and toughness. And I think they lack that. When push comes to shove and it has to turn into an alley fight, they don't have it. These are some of the plays I want to point out because this is just way too easy. I mean, Jason Tatum basically goes from 35 feet, finishes with a dunk. He never felt any contact on that play and nobody within 5 feet when he finishes it. Here's another one in transition. Yeah, you got Knicks just stopping at the top of the key of the 3-point line, running back in transition, and Sam Hauser just runs to an open corner for the easiest shot he's going to get all day. And there's a number of examples similar to that throughout the game. Look, Boston does some things to some teams because they're just too good, but there's other plays like that. That's just not good enough effort, concentration, or attention to detail against these top teams.
Yeah, I think if using geography metaphors here, you ready for that? I think the Celtics were going to maybe see if they were, as the gap was as wide as the Charles with the Knicks, but it turned out it was as wide as the Hudson.
Okay.
Because the Knicks were never competitive in this game. It looks like it was okay with 13. They were blown out in the first quarter. I will say this. The one thing that the Knicks have going for them is they are going to get, at some point, Mitchell Robinson back. Now, he is not going to fix everything, but he will give Tom Thibodeau some options on how he wants to structure his defense, on how he wants to give Karl Towns a sign.
But does that solve as Perk was yelling the entire game, get out of a drop coverage.
It will allow them to manipulate matchups a little bit better, but it's not going to completely solve their situation.
Okay, so you said they could get back at some point. That's why Shams is here. When could we see Mitchell Robinson return here? And how about Karl-Anthony Towns, even in Wednesday's game here after we saw that knee issue? They play against the Sixers.
Yeah, Malika, I'll start with Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm told he is fine. He's
okay.
Good with whatever knee issue that appeared. The bigger question for the Knicks, as Brian just said, is that potential ace card, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's an ace card or what it is.
It's more like a jack.
So this is a very important week for Mitchell Robinson. He is very close to a return to action. He's had multiple scrimmages over the last week or so. He's going to have another full scrimmage early this week. And the goal for Mitchell Robinson is to make his Knicks season debut at some point in the next 7 days, from my understanding. And the Knicks could make a determination here at some point this week on when that could be. Mitchell Robinson was their starting center last year. He has the ability to start potentially alongside Karl-Anthony Towns, but if nothing else, provide a backup for Karl-Anthony Towns, potentially play next to Cat in lineups down the stretch of games, providing that center. We saw Karl-Anthony Towns. Statistically, he's playing better than he did last year, but next to Rudy Gobert, that team went to the Western Conference Finals. And so let's see how potentially that duo looks playing in big games for the Knicks.
With the loss, though, the 76ers, they fell below the Nets into the 6th worst record in the NBA. That could be important on draft day, as the 76ers, they will keep their 2025 pick only if it lands in the top 6. They would have a 46% chance of keeping their pick if they finish with the 6th worst record here.
They are done. This season is over. The city knows it. There's no brotherly love for the Sixers. Lose, sit Joel Embiid for the rest of the season like Perk was saying last year. Sit Paul George while you're at it and just be done with it and prepare for the next 3 years, because this season is a joke. Nobody gives a damn about the Sixers because we know they're not healthy.
Okay. Stephen A. made his thoughts very clear about the Sixers this season on NBA Countdown. Legs, what do you think the Sixers need to do here?
Yeah, look, I think there's some validity to taking a serious look at shutting Joel Embiid down. I mean, he just is continuing to look worse and worse. He's got less mobility. He's a non-factor defensively, really. And it's obvious, and by his own words, this isn't going to just improve with the normal protocol that they're following right now, because it hasn't really helped to this point. So what are you really accomplishing by continuing to run him out there when he's probably playing at 60, 65%? I think they need to start having serious discussions about it. It gives you a head start on next season and hopefully salvaging something in your return as an organization over the last few years of his contract, because it's not happening this year. That's pretty obvious by the way he looks physically. Yeah,
you're not the only one to say that. Obviously, Stephen A. has called for this. Kendrick Perkins has called for this. But, Shams, what more can you tell us about the Sixers' plans here for Embiid?
The 76ers and Joel Embiid right now are in the process of consulting with doctors, looking over his imaging on his injured left knee, and they're going to collaborate after reviews, after consultations. They're going to collaborate with specialists on figuring out the best path forward. They're going to have to work together on the solution. No one really knows yet if there's a silver bullet, if there's just going to be an easy fix, because this is something Joel Embiid has been dealing with all season. He's tried multiple different treatments throughout the course of the season. His knee just has not gotten right. I'm told he's tried regular and frequent injections in that knee. And this is a player that still remains under contract with the 76ers for several more years. He's been the cornerstone of this team. So the 76ers, I think they're going to take a look here today, tomorrow, this week. They're going to have to do what's best and what's smart with Joel Embiid and this organization. Because think about it, even after Saturday night's loss against the Nets, Joel Embiid reported swelling in his knee on Sunday, could not practice on Sunday. I don't expect him to play tonight, clearly. And so we're going to see here soon at some point what the 76ers and Joel Embiid will do. This
is just a decision tree. They're in 12th place right now. The whole concept of their team is, can they get healthy enough so if they get into the play and they can make a run? If Joel Embiid is not going to be there, then you have to look at the other alternative, which is looking at their draft pick. This is a situation that doesn't normally affect teams that are looking at tanking or not, but this is a different scenario. Top 6, you keep your pick. 7 or down, you don't. Look at the difference. The difference between being in 5th place and the difference between being in 7th is huge. Just look at 7th and 8th. Right now, they're in 6th. They are 3 games in the loss column, quote unquote, back of the Raptors. they should take steps not only to protect Joel Embiid going forward, but to ensure that they keep that pick. They can do their best to do it. Anybody, you don't need to be a consultant to be highly paid to come in and assess the situation. Just look at the percentages. Look at the reality. They have to do it. It wasn't something they wanted to do. It doesn't mean that they're bad people, but it's a no-brainer when you look at this situation.
Yeah, the team was put together, as you alluded to be able to withstand some sort of Joel Embiid missing a couple of games here or Paul George missing a couple of games there. It wasn't built to put up with everything that they had to this season.
NBA